Hey everybody, it's Bill Bush from Fitness from the Inside Out. Thank you for joining me for day 17. We're taking it out here on the patio, mixing it up a little bit. We're gonna work a lot today on hip rotation. So follow along. We're gonna start down on the mat and work our way with some of the things we did yesterday, but we're adding hip rotation to just about everything we are doing today. Some standing, some on the floor, and then some basics as well. So, you ready? Let's play. All right, on your backs, legs up, knees bent. We're gonna start in rotation, just like you did yesterday. Up, rotate, squeezing in, kicking the one leg out, full rotation as far as I can bring it, full flexion as far as I can bring it, coming back to neutral, coming down, coming up, and other side. Squeezing in as far as I can bring it, extending that leg, flexing the other end, squeezing, bringing it down, coming up into a hip lift. Single leg up in the air. I want you to internally rotate it as far as you can. So we're working just hip internal rotation and hip flexion here. Lock knee, coming down, coming up. Remember, elbows into the floor, leg up, internally rotate, squeezing in, and coming down. Now, straight legs. One leg up, cross over, and reach. So opposite arm and leg reach. Feeling that. Bring the other leg up for good measure. Squeezing up as far as I can. Squeezing those abs. Coming down. Coming up with the other side. Coming up and reaching as far as I can, squeezing, straight legs, lock knee, and down. We're coming up into hip flexion again. This time I want you to externally rotate the hip. You want to make it a little tougher? You bring the leg out slightly. Changes your center of gravity. A little bit more pressure on the hip you're trying to lift. Come back to neutral, come down, come up with the other, up, straight leg, externally rotated, bring it out slightly. Making this a little tougher. Reaching up, lock knee, straight as you can keep it, and down. Now we're gonna go legs up, knees bent, crunch up, side bend. I want this hip to come in, so I'm gonna rotate that hip in, side bending, elbow to hip. As far as I can, squeeze, back to neutral, come down, come up, crunch, side bend. So I'm taking those legs in. I have that little shift and squeeze. Hip to elbow, down, up. We're gonna repeat ourselves. Single leg hip lift, straight leg, internally rotate. Go back to hip internal rotation. Squeezing that. Elbows are pushing down into the ground, back down to neutral, back up, leg up, straight, squeeze, internally rotate. Feel that out. I know it's a little tougher than the straight leg. That's okay. Do your best with it. Come down, come up. Now I want both legs up in the air. Crunch up, side bend with that rotation to the right side. Again, this right hip towards my upper body, and back to neutral, down, up, crunch, and side bend the other way. Reach, I got that twist from my hip. As far as I can, holding it, breathing through, come back to neutral, and we're gonna come back to single leg hip lift, external rotation. Bring it out a little farther, out into abduction, make it a little tougher, push the elbows down to the ground, make sure I'm stable, holding that, squeezing up, come back to neutral, come back up, hip lift, leg lift, external rotation and out. Always slow and controlled on your transitions. The big part of this now that you're doing more and more of these every day, I hope, back to neutral. We're gonna stand up and we're gonna do single leg, straight leg, hip flexion and internal rotation. I wanna keep that hip internally rotated here. Not just straight, internally rotated. Changing it up, keeping that internal rotation. Let's bring it back behind you and extend. So I'm trying to keep the leg straight, but I'm internally rotating the hip. You feel that? Just a little different than if it were straight leg. Squeezing back. Let's do the other side. We'll go this way with it. Straight leg, internally rotate, and hip flexion with that straight leg. As far as I can bring it up without folding from the hip. There's my hip flexion. I'm going to bring that back. Internally rotated. Bring it back. I'm going to try to keep that turn in and squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. From here we're going to go back down to the ground and do a bird dog. So, hands and knees, opposite arm and leg, reach. Now we're not worried about hip internal rotation, we're just simply working hip extension, shoulder flexion, working the core, coming back, switching sides, slow and controlled, nice reach, squeeze, everything I got, as far as I can go, and into a plank. Squeezing, elbows to toes, as much as I can get in. Breathe through, and flat on your stomachs. Opposite arm and leg reach. Get that, feel that back extension. Reach as far as you can. Hip extension. The other side. Reach as far as you can. Squeeze a glute. Feel the back extend. And plank. Squeeze them. Everything from those elbows to your toes and in between. So that elbow's going that way. Pushing. Coming down. Now just a straight bent knee hip lift. High as you can bring it without rotating. Won't come up very far. This is as far as I go without feeling like I'm going to go into rotation. Squeezing the glute, bringing it down, bringing it up, squeezing the other glute, Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And we're gonna stand up from here. Coming up. So, single leg, bent knee, hip rotation. I'm actually rotating this hip in. There's my hip internal rotation. Working that, coming back out, switching sides, single leg, bent knee, this hip is rotating. This leg's just going along for the ride. I'm doing all the work with the standing leg. Holding, coming back. We're gonna switch sides. Now we're gonna externally rotate. The leg that you're standing on is externally rotating. So it's just bringing me this way. This leg comes out. I'm not using this hip to do anything. I'm simply rotating out and holding. Coming back, coming down, coming up, and rotating from the hip. Reaching out as far as I can. Holding, holding, holding. And now we're gonna go back to straight leg. Now you're gonna externally rotate just the leg that's out into hip flexion. I got that out straight. A little difference in the way I'm feeling that hip flexion. More of my adductors helping out here is what I'm feeling. I'm gonna take that same leg into external rotation and bring it back. Nice and easy. So a lot of work going on the leg I'm standing on, but also in the hip that's going back. Changes the way that hip extension feels. Coming back, switching sides, external rotation, hip flexion. I don't want to bend forward. I'm simply bringing out that leg as far as I can. I'm going to feel those adductors a little bit more as I go forward with an externally rotated leg. I'm going to bring them back and extend them back as far as I can. Feel that glute squeeze. There it is. Easy peasy. 36 exercises, easy to do. Works a little bit more of the hips than normal. So just going straight up and down rather than, this is a little bit different because now you're internally, externally rotating the hip. That's really important. We want to get those hip internal and external rotators stronger and stronger. This is a great way to do that. Thanks again for watching my videos. Really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you watch my Why Isometrics video. Very important. And have an outstanding day.